The training information contained in this video is for circumstances that would require sheltering in your home. It is in no way intended to solve all the potential situations that might arise from nuclear, biological, or chemical acts of terrorism or accidents, and it should not be assumed that this or any method is an absolute guarantee for 100% success. Sheltering in place, when successfully executed, is expected to increase the potential for survival. This is just one aspect of training for emergency preparedness and should be viewed in that spirit. The viewer should acknowledge that consideration and dedicate himself or herself to furthering their understanding of preparedness in light of the world we now live in. If you are dealing with a nuclear, biological, or chemical terrorist attack, or even an accident, evacuation would be difficult, if not impossible. In most cities, traffic congestion alone would be a serious problem. And evacuation to the old civil defense shelters is not possible because most no longer exist. Even if these shelters did exist, according to a government study during the early 80s, 3,000 people would show up to a shelter originally built for 1,000 people. So, what do you do? If you're sitting in your home, the solution is all around you. With the right information, some preparation, and a positive attitude, you can effectively turn your home into a shelter. As you review the material on this video, realize that you are beginning a process of knowing what it takes to survive. There is nothing radical about knowing how to do this. It is simply part of what is needed to take care of you and your family in the event of one of these crises. Having this knowledge will help you to remain positive because you are prepared. Remember, panic only compromises your ability to think and act clearly. During any of these events, do not call 911 unless you actually need assistance, typically provided by the fire department, police, or emergency medical technicians. You will also want to have a battery-operated radio with you at all times and tuned in to your local emergency alert station. Every state has a number of these EAS radio and television stations established by law to inform the public of a potential crisis. Make sure that you have plenty of fresh batteries available. The amount of time to shelter could be as short as a few hours or as long as several weeks. How long to shelter will depend on the type of event you are dealing with, your local officials, and when they signal to shelter and sound the all clear. If for whatever reason your local leadership is not able to provide that information, there are several different options that need to be considered in knowing when it is safe to leave your shelter. One option is to have a portable shortwave radio. A shortwave radio is different from a regular AM/FM radio because it can receive signals from around the world. This allows you to monitor emergency alert stations statewide and nationally. Another option would be to purchase a radiation meter. Radiation meters come in several different types, but we recommend that you purchase a surplus civil defense fallout meter and learn to use it. Make sure you store extra batteries for it. Once you are in your shelter, do not open the door. This is extremely important. All communication with the outside should be done over the phone or through the internet if power is still available. If someone comes to your home, talk with him or her through the door, but do not open it. Remember, biological agents pass from person to person, and fallout is particularly deadly to the very young. It is important to remember this when confronted with the possibility of opening your shelter to these contaminants. Events using chemical agents are short-term events because chemical agents dissipate in a matter of hours. Also, chemicals are heavier than air, so when considering where to shelter in your home, remember that a basement is not a good location. The main floor or higher would be best. When informed by local authorities of a chemical attack or accident, you should bring family members and pets indoors. Close and lock all doors and windows and use duct tape to seal the seams. Shut all air vents, including fireplace dampers, and turn off any heating, cooling, or ventilation systems. Duct tape electrical and cable outlets and any cracks that would expose you to the outside. Cover the cracks below the doors with damp towels. Move everyone in your home to a central location away from the outer walls. Continue to monitor with a portable radio, emergency alert stations for further information or until officials sound the all clear. Have water, snacks, games, and books for all ages to remain occupied. You might want to consider having a room or space already prepared in advance. This would help to reduce the time it takes in sheltering you and your family members. You should have at least 10 square feet of space for each person. Have essential items stored in this space. Then, when officials alert you, you are ready. Simply enter the space and tape the seams of the door and place a damp towel at the crack below it. If you don't have a room available, then use a hallway or a space large enough to give you plenty of oxygen. In the case of a hallway, you'll want to use thick plastic to create a barrier at each end. Pre-cut the plastic and store it near this location. When the alert comes, tape each piece into place. Another consideration is to have a nuclear, biological, and chemical gas mask. If you are unsure that your preparations are adequate, then masks such as these will help. One key thing to remember with chemical weapons is that they are limited in their usage. For one thing, they don't function well with the basic elements, such as wind, rain, and wide open spaces. They dissipate rapidly and require nearly perfect circumstances to work effectively. We should point out that we are not teaching you how to build a blast shelter. A blast shelter is for a nuclear explosion, whereas shelter in place is for dealing with the extended effects after a blast, namely radioactive particles called fallout. These particles are shot up into the atmosphere and carried by the wind, sometimes for hundreds of miles before returning to the Earth. In the case of a dirty bomb, fallout affects only the area of the blast. It is far more likely most people will be dealing with fallout than the actual blast. So, for the purpose of this video, we will be teaching you how to turn your home into a shelter. This method for sheltering your home against fallout is basically the same method you will use for biological agents. There are only a few minor differences, which we will discuss here. If local officials have informed you that there has been a nuclear or biological event, what should you do? The severity of the incident will determine whether or not you will be sheltering for several days or several weeks. You want to be prepared for the worst case, which in this instance could be weeks. There are 7 steps you should remember. First, in the event of fallout, take a thyroid blocker. Second, immediately shelter the elderly, sick, pregnant, and very young. Third, secure your home. Fourth, filter the air in your home. Fifth, choose a central area in your home for everyone to stay. Sixth, practice good hygiene. Seventh, and lastly, you want to have a portable radio handy that you will constantly monitor for updates. These 7 steps, along with the information contained within this video, will help you to effectively shelter you and your family in your own home. Now, let's take a closer look at each of these steps. First, thyroid blockers. If you are sure there has been a nuclear incident and that you and your family might be subject to fallout, take a thyroid blocker. The 2 most common and widely used are potassium iodate or potassium iodide. But a second option is sodium iodate and sodium iodide. Each of these prevents radioactive iodine from entering the body's thyroid gland, which is the common cause of radiation sickness. Thyroid blockers have a very long storage life when stored in a cool, dry area. You should store enough doses for each individual for 13 days. This is absolutely necessary for survival. The reason that you should start taking the thyroid blocker immediately is that it takes several hours to take effect. Second, sheltering the pregnant, the elderly ill, and the very young. It is important to remember that pregnant women, children, and elderly people who are ill are going to be the most susceptible to radiation and should be sheltered immediately while someone else turns the rest of the home into a shelter. The same basic setup for sheltering against chemical agents discussed earlier in this video would be exactly the method you would want to use. They should remain in this room until those who are preparing the home as a shelter are done or local officials have sounded the all clear. Everyone should be wearing a dust or an NBC mask, especially those who are preparing the home for a shelter. If you don't have one of these, take an item of clothing made from cotton and place it over your face. Third, secure your home. Please note, it is extremely important at the beginning of this process that your doors are locked before you start. After this, it is important not to open the door for anyone unless officials sound the all clear. You want to make sure that any ventilation, air conditioning, or heating system you have is turned off to prevent drawing dust from outside. Even when the power is out, this should be done. Also, turn the gas off only if the electricity is off, if you are near a blast area, or if there has been ground movement. Make sure that you have the appropriate tool to accomplish this. Fireplaces, wood, and coal stoves should have the dampers shut. Take the time now and go through your home to fix anything that would present a serious complication, such as serious cracks, broken locks, broken or cracked windows, and so on. Pre-examine your home now so that you know every potential source of airflow. Fourth, filter the air in your home. Your goal will be to filter the air that passes through the cracks and seams of your doors and windows. You will need cotton bed sheets or any cotton material that you might have around the home, as many 2-inch wide rolls of tape as you can find. Duct tape would be preferable, but packing tape or any 2-inch wide roll of tape will do in a pinch. Cut or rip the cotton sheets or material into lengthwise strips, about 4 inches wide. Fold each strip over widthwise, turning it into a double-thick 2-inch wide strip. Now, tape the cotton strips over every crack and seam in the door, making sure that you leave at least 1 to 1.5 inches of untaped cotton material exposed between the taped edges. The untaped portion of the cotton should be directly centered over the crack, seam, or source of air you are trying to filter. This will allow for the exchange of air while filtering out particles of fallout. Windows are to be opened 1/4 of an inch. Tape the 2-inch cotton strips over the 1/4 inch gap. Once again, make sure that you leave at least 1 to 1.5 inches of cotton exposed between the taped edges. The untaped portion of the cotton strip should be directly positioned over the 1/4 inch opening in the window. Once the windows have been prepared, be sure to tape the remaining seams. Any other ventilation should also have double layers of cotton material taped over their openings. Anything that would be a source of airflow and radioactive dust should be covered. Make sure that any remaining vents or anything you are unsure about are either covered with the cotton material or taped shut. After your local officials signal the all clear and they are sure that it is safe to leave your home, go ahead and remove the filters. But if there has been fallout, avoid removing any of the filtering except for that which is covering the door through which you would exit. The longer they are left in place, the more time there is for the radioactive particles to decay. Whatever you have to remove, make sure that your face is covered and that you're wearing something on your hands. As you remove the tape, try not to raise any dust. Fifth, choose the most central area in your home to live in. Once you have filtered your home, the most central area on the ground floor will be the best place to shelter. Even if you are in a high-rise apartment, this would still be the case. Choose the most central area in your apartment to shelter. Basically, you're going to eat, sleep, and live in this area until the event has passed. Sixth, practice good hygiene. Whatever you're dealing with, you want to remain as clean as possible. Especially in the case of biological agents, it is your last and best defense. Make sure that bathroom and food preparation areas are always clean and that you wash your hands frequently. Cleaning wipes would be very useful and help conserve water. We also recommend having Lysol, bleach, and plenty of bleach-based cleaning supplies. Seventh and lastly, you want to have a portable radio handy that you will constantly monitor for updates. These 7 steps, along with the information contained within this video, will help you to effectively shelter you and your family in your own home. In this next segment, we are going to show you what you will need in advance to successfully shelter in your home. Sheltering is no small task and preparations need to be made to sustain you and your family members mentally and physically during this period of time. You want to store as much water as possible, either in large poly barrels, or use smaller containers like 2-liter bottles that you can store under the bed or in some nook if storage area is limited. Store 1 gallon or 4 liters of water per person per day, enough for 4 weeks worth. Of all the life-sustaining preparations, water is the most important. When an event happens, you should have a member of the family fill any alternate sources with extra water, such as the bathtub and any extra containers you have in the kitchen. Remember, you cannot have too much water. A good place to start is to have 3 days to 1 month's supply of food. Be sure to store food that you are familiar with, things that you enjoy eating. This helps to maintain the consistency of a familiar lifestyle and thus will help to maintain a positive mental outlook. You want to have Food that does not require moisture that is packed in its own juices. Food that has a minimum storage life of 2 years or more. Food that can be prepared cold and doesn't require cooking. Open flames will use too much oxygen.
Winter clothing, warm blankets, as well as warm sleeping bags should be stored near the central location. In states with severe winter weather, this will be your sole source for staying warm.
You should not use open flame heaters as these use oxygen and produce dangerous gases. The only exception to this is wood or coal stoves are excellent for providing heat. Dangerous gases are sent up the chimney, and there is an increase in airflow through the cotton-sealed door jambs and windows, circulating the air.
As well as producing heat and helping to circulate air, you can also cook on a wood or coal stove.
If you are opening your dampers for the first time since the event started, please be careful to protect yourself from any dust. It's important to remember that a fireplace is not safe to use under these circumstances. It doesn't have the same enclosed structure of a wood or coal stove. First and foremost is to have potassium iodate or potassium iodide or sodium iodate and sodium iodide in your first aid supplies. Enough doses available for each individual in your family for 13 days. Once again, in the case of fallout, this is absolutely necessary for the survival of each family member. Next is to have an adequate supply of any life-sustaining personal medications and to be current on all vaccinations. A good first aid kit. One that would be advanced enough to deal with potentially life-threatening problems. Personal toiletries. This would include everything from toothpaste to lots of baby wipes. Keeping neat and clean as possible will help to maintain the emotional state of mind. Baby wipes are an effective method of doing this while conserving water. In a situation like this one, sewage will possibly not be available. So you will want to use sturdy disposable trash sacks for human waste and trash for later disposal. Then, store in a remote area of your home until the opportunity arises to move it out of doors. A 5-gallon storage bucket can also double as a portable potty. Use one of your trash sacks to line the bucket.
Remember that plenty of spray deodorant is highly recommended to have on hand.
Here are a few other items you will want stored in your central area. Flashlight and portable fluorescent lamp with extra batteries. Portable radio, preferably shortwave and hand cranked. A simple toolkit. An EMP, which stands for electromagnetic pulse wave, is a surge of energy that is emitted from a nuclear blast. This surge of energy destroys the circuitry and processors in anything powered by electricity.
You need to know this so that you can protect important items that you might need, such as a radio or special medical devices. In order to protect these items, you need a metal trash can with a lid and a full-size blanket that is thick.
Place the blanket in the trash can so that it lines the sides and the bottom of the metal, allowing the corners of the blanket to lap outside the sides of the can. This acts as a buffer. Place any electrical items you want to protect in the bottom of the blanket, making sure that none of these items are touching any portion of the metal. After you have the items in the trash can, fold the remaining part of the blanket in over the top of the items you are storing. Now cover the trash can with the metal lid. This will effectively protect everything from an EMP. During this process, you are going to have a lot of time on your hands. You want to have plenty to do.
Books to read, including faith-promoting books and books for children, are excellent for consuming time. You should store as many as possible near your central area.
Games are also excellent for burning up time. Most families already have plenty of these and only need to centralize them for easy access during an event.
You have enough to do to turn your home into a shelter without having to worry about these extra items, so try to store these things in advance. Well, that's all for now. Remember, as you are sheltering, avoid leaving your shelter until local officials have given the all clear. Every time you open the shelter, you are not only exposing yourself, but your family members to possible contaminants. Also, be sure to view this video as many times as needed to learn the process. Remember, when you are prepared, there is no need to be afraid or panicked. Good luck, and God bless.
We hope that you enjoyed our presentation of Sheltering in Place, brought to you by Ready Reserve, providing the very best in quality products for family security for any emergency or natural disaster. The Shelter in Place 2-person response kit, everything you need to shelter in your home. Whether a chemical incident, a biological attack, or radioactive fallout, the Shelter in Place 2-person response kit has everything you need. The Shelter in Place kit also includes such hard-to-find items as thyroid blockers, which are crucial to helping you survive radioactive fallout, 2 nuclear, biological, and chemical masks with suits, radioactive meter and shortwave radio contained in an EMP-capable container. All of this comes in the Shelter in Place 2-person response kit, and kit modules can be added for additional family members. Also, you can purchase items separately as your needs require. Whatever the case, Ready Reserve can supply your family with everything they need to secure them in difficult times. Just call our toll-free number or go online. We hope that you and your family will view this informative video again and give us the opportunity to serve you. Ready Reserve, providing today for a secure tomorrow.